Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Duke, and welcome to The Takeaway, joined again by Alex Newman to talk about a really important problem, how our kids' history curriculum is being utterly transformed by progressives. The advanced placement courses that so many kids take to opt out of college history have been overrun by real progressive left-wing bias. Talk a little bit about this for us, Alex.
All right, well, thank you, Duke. And so I unfortunately have not had a chance to go through the whole book, but that's partly because it hasn't yet been released and distributed to the public yet. But this book is the AP history textbook, and AP, of course, is kind of the training for the pseudo elites, right? The managers, the politicians, the bureaucratic leaders, right? So it's not the kids who are expected to go into being mechanics and janitors and things, but slightly higher than that. And what we do know about this book so far, just based on the pages that people have photographed and released in public, is that it is an anti-Trump, never Trump kind of absurd screed. It paints Trump as a racist, as an extremist, as somebody who's mentally unstable. His supporters are all old racist white guys who live out in the backwoods. And Hillary Clinton, of course, was this heroic, wonderful lady who raised concerns about Trump. And people didn't like her because of her gender, and they were uncomfortable with the direction America was heading in because of racial diversity. And so basically, Trump is evil, Americans are evil, and Hillary Clinton was awesome. And this is just the little snapshots that we have, right? So if they talk this way about the most recent election, which we all witnessed with our own eyes, you can imagine how incredibly biased the rest of it's going to be. So we're trying to get copies of this book now, and we'll be going through it with a fine-tooth comb. But as of now, we can say it is absolutely outrageous propaganda. It does not belong in any school, much less one that's funded with the tax dollars of the people who are being maligned and smeared.
Well, and this isn't new. We've talked many times before about the advanced placement courses. People don't realize that advanced placement, and for those of you at home who don't know, advanced placement allows high school kids in their junior and senior year the ability to take an accelerated sort of college-level class, advanced placement, in various subjects, chemistry, math, history. And if they do well enough on these exams for these high school courses, they then opt out of expensive college courses in history or chemistry or math. And the problem is that the person running the advanced placement courses is the person in charge of the college boards. And that's David Coleman, the architect of Common Core. So David Coleman, who oversaw the creation of Common Core, a man who has no educational background whatsoever, zero, zip, nada, never taught a class, never had an education seminar. He was put in charge by the Obama administration of creating these standards. Now he's in charge, believe it or not, of the college boards, where he is rewriting these standardized courses, these placement courses. It starts with American history, which he has been meddling with for years. The previous textbook that was recommended for the college boards here is a book called Out of Many, which sought to paint George Washington and the founding fathers as royalists, nationalists, and elitists. So you can begin to see how, after taking over the government schools with Common Core, what you have now is they're going after these college-level bridge courses and changing them too.
Yep. And, I've had some experience with this. In fact, I took AP courses, 12 years ago when I was in high school. And they were absolute garbage. I mean, I slept through a lot of it, I'm ashamed to admit. But what I did remember, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And more recently, I've had a chance to look at some of the economics stuff that comes out of AP because I teach economics. Absolute garbage. So, they basically teach economics through a Keynesian lens, through the worldview of big government, and they treat it as fact. This isn't, one possible option for how to understand economics. This is the option for how to understand economics. And it's the same thing that we're seeing with history here in this new book by James Fraser of New York University, pseudo-historian on the hard left. What they are doing here, people need to realize how important this is, how crucial this is, because what they're doing is they're training American youngsters. These are people who are eventually going to be in positions of influence, whether they're teachers, whether they're political leaders, whether they're corporate leaders. They're training them to view America in a certain way. So American history is not this incredible experiment in liberty and godly government, and government exists to protect rights. Instead, it's all viewed through the lens of race, class, gender, and all these things. And basically, conservatives are evil, liberals are good, big government is good, small government is evil, and we equate it with all these nasty things. So this is very, very dangerous because, not only are we not going to understand where we came from as a nation, we have no clue about our heritage as a result of these indoctrination courses. It's going to steer us in a very negative direction that is completely alien to American traditions. And this book, it comes through crystal clear in the treatment of President Trump. Of course, it touts, the Black Lives Matter movement. It portrays police. It describes them as an occupying army, that they're perceived that way, that they're all white and they're all racists, and these heroic Black Lives Matter. No mention of George Soros funding, no mention of the riots, no mention of the false narratives that led to much of this, no mention that the leaders of this movement support communists and convicted cop killers who fled to Cuba. None of that, right? We just whitewash that all and say, oh, America's racist, and these heroic people, no mention of George Soros funding them, are standing up against that oppression. So it's a lie. I mean, that's what it is. We're dealing with lies here, and these aren't accidental lies, right? I mean, this is a deliberate agenda. This is a deliberate plan to distort history, because if you control the past, you can control the future, and that's what we're looking at here. It's a very dangerous situation, and American parents, do not let your kids be indoctrinated into this. I mean, it's not just your kids who depend on fighting back against this. It's the future of our whole country.